Hello and welcome to Mac Power Users. My name is Steven Robles, joined as always by my friend David Sparks. How's it going, David?
It is going excellent, Mr. Robles. Hopefully you're back safely from your trip. We're recording this episode out of time, gang. But we wanted to talk about some of our favorite obscure Mac apps. You know, there's the apps that get talked about all the time. Then there's the ones that we kind of like that never get mentioned. And we thought that would be a fun episode for today.
Yeah, and there's been some new ones recently just released, some recently discovered, and I need to hear how you're using some. So we're going to get into that. And on more power users, we're going to talk a little bit about Notion. While it's not new or obscure, we just have some complicated feelings about it, and we want to kind of hash it out. So that's more power users today. So tell me, you want to go back and forth? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's just dig in. The first one I want to pick is a new app. It just got released a few weeks ago. It's from the guy who makes the timing app, which is a great kind of Mac app, and it's called Cotypist. Daniel has been working on this app now for, 6 months or something, and it's an AI implementation that's very interesting. So we've got a lot of AI tools out there. This one, I'm going to say, is kind of like a writing assistant, but it's really more a typing assistant. So it looks at the screen and looks at the words, and it uses an AI model. And as you type, it tries to predict the next few words you're going to write and offers to insert them for you. And I know this is a controversial pick because some people really don't like the idea of AI getting involved in writing. I don't either. I don't want it writing for me, but when I'm doing text input, anything that can make it faster, I think, is worth looking at. And this one sticks for me, Stephen.
So I downloaded this recently, unbeknownst that you were about to talk about it today.
Yeah.
And the developer reached out, and so I was very curious. I think I understand what it's doing. Basically, as you're typing, there's some suggestions, kind of like how you would have on iPhone, where as you type, there's some suggestions you could tap right above the software keyboard. And on the Mac, it's doing that in line. And then you can just tap the tab button on your keyboard, and it will take whatever that auto suggestion is and just type it. And if you were to type or hit the tab key multiple times in a row, it might type out a whole sentence or even up to a whole paragraph. So I saw that. There were a couple times where it actually was pretty good. Like it suggested something I did want to do right away. But I also found it like it's there all the time as you're typing. And so I'm curious your experience, like is it distracting or has it gotten better as you use it? Because it's also learning as you do it.
I think part of the reason why it works so good, it becomes more contextually aware as you use it more. So I've been using it since like the first betas. So it's pretty smart with me. And the thing I use it for a lot is like typing to the robot in Claude or filling out a form. And like all that stuff is really handy. But, as you were talking, I was thinking about it. Anything substantive, I write with another app I'm going to share in a minute, a gem. But I do dictation. So if I write a newsletter, I'll have an outline and I'll just speak it. Or if I'm writing an email to a friend, I will speak it. I dictate like 100,000 words a month, I think. I just dictate everything. So that's probably why I don't get that friction that some people have. Like when you're trying to write something substantive, like you're trying to think of the right word to get the idea across and it keeps spitting suggestions at you. I could see that getting annoying, but I don't do that with a keyboard. So this app really scratches the itch for me because the stuff I am typing, I just want to get the text in as soon as possible. And this app is kind of uncanny at its ability to do it.
Do you, there are prompts that I use for Claude and other things regularly, and I am still putting those in Text Expander.
Yeah.
I have a folder, and I have a semicolon, and a bunch of different 3 to 4 word letter snippets that are prompts I use every week. Where do you put those kinds of prompts for you?
Yeah, I use Text Expander too. They have groups in Text Expander, and in the group setting, you can set a preface language, so mine is AI, dot, AI dot. And okay. So I just type AI dot and then like UP, and it gives it the update language. Hey, check your skills and update your records, or so I use AI dot something to put repeated prompts in. But just generally working with it, it's still, I need to type, and I don't like doing that. So Cotypist really scratches the itch for me on that stuff. Like I said, online forms I find it useful for. Just basic, like if I'm going to type out a quick email, like somebody emails me and says, "Hey, do you want to have lunch tomorrow at 10?" And like it reads the email, I believe. It knows it has enough knowledge, or at least I've given it enough access, that it helps me write the reply very fast. And all that stuff I think is great, makes me faster.
Well, that's pretty cool. Well, you can do Cotypist and use it for free. You have, I think it's 100 completed words a day,
Yeah.
and then there's a $6 a month billed annually if you want unlimited completions and things like that. But
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. And
solid developer, like solid Mac guy, and like he does it right. You download the model locally, and just a very intelligent use of this and an interesting use of AI. And like I said, I get that some people are not interested in this because it treads too close to AI writing for me. But for the kind of writing I'm doing with the keyboard, I'm totally fine with it.
Well, I have another brand new app I want to feature, but I want one other side note on dictation. I've been trying hard to just use dictation more when I'm tempted to like type, even on my phone. Like if I'm going to type a long message or email, I'm like, let me try to dictate it first. And I do find it more useful. And one of the things I was doing the other day was building a shortcut for time zone conversion, because someone in my community asked for a shortcut where it can submit several dates and times and then have it convert to another time zone that they specify, and then send that in an email. Well, I was getting the current location or current time zone via location, which works. You enter the other time zone, and then I had a repeat action where you could tell it repeat it 3 times and input dates and times. But the date and time picker in shortcuts can be pretty cumbersome, especially if you're trying to get the exact moments and stuff.
Yeah,
so I was like, let me replace that whole part of the flow with just a text dictation. And I'm going to give all of that with the time zone information to Apple Intelligence, and let's see if it can do it. And sure enough, it does it super easy. And so now I'll put a link to the shortcut in the show notes, but it basically says, what time zone are you converting to, how many meet, and then it just dictates. It actually doesn't even ask. You just say June 1st at 7 p.m., June 3rd at this time, June 5th at this time, and then it takes what you dictated, Apple Intelligence, and then pops up a window that says, here are those times in your time zone using your location, and those times in the destination time zone. So
nice.
Dictation, it's pretty good.
It is, like, I have been banging the drum of dictation since Mac Power User started, because as a practicing lawyer, I was really early on board with that stuff, and I was good at it with the old tech, where you had to dictate, and it wasn't great. A lot of people really struggled with it, but you had to like dictate to it correctly, if that makes any sense. But now all those barriers are down with the age of Wispr and artificial intelligence. Dictation is a solved problem, and there's some great apps now that allow you to do it. So I dictate just constantly.
Yeah. I'm working towards it. All right, I want to highlight a brand new app. This is called Choclift. And we recently on a previous episode talked about our Stream Decks and setup and things like that. And if you don't have a Stream Deck, or you're not sure if you want to use one yet or if it would be useful to you, Choclift is an app for your Mac and your iPhone that you install it on both. It works totally for free. If you want multiple pages of controls, then you have to do the in-app purchase. But you can use it for free. And on one page, you get 8 controls on your iPhone. And then it can do things on your Mac when you tap those controls. And those could be apps, launching them. It could be running shortcuts. So if you want to program some shortcuts and use your iPhone as a mini Stream Deck for your Mac, you can totally do that right now. And maybe you just want to experiment to see if a hardware Stream Deck would be useful to you, and if you would get in the habit of tapping that thing off to the side of your Mac and it doing things. It's pretty cool. And there's even like gestures for it, like multi-finger gestures for maximizing a window, for copy and pasting. And you can do those gestures on your iPhone, and it sends that command to the Mac. And it is very cool. And so free to download and use with one page of controls, and then an in-app purchase if you want to have multiple pages. I thought that was pretty nifty.
Yeah, I wish they would make an iPad iteration of this.
Yes, that seems ideal. Like they should do that. And I think there's been a couple apps like this in the past, but I really like the design of this one and how just kind of seamless everything is, the interface, the gestures, and all the things like that. So, Choclift, and the in-app purchase, if you're curious, it's $3 monthly subscription if you want to do like multiple pages. But download for free. You get 8 controls for free, and yeah, little mini Stream Deck on your phone.
Yeah. I haven't told you. We're going to do an iPad episode at some point, but I actually keep my iPad in front of my Mac.
Oh, okay. Now, wait a minute.
Keep it plugged in.
You use a universal control or sidecar? What are you doing with it?
When I want to. When I want to. We'll talk about that in the future. But but also it's just like a great little status board, even without being connected. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Put it to work, baby. Put it to work.
Piquing my interest. Okay,
right.
we'll see. We'll see.
We'll get there.
All right, what else? What else you got?
Well, since we broached the topic of dictation, I want to talk about what I think is the Goldilocks app of dictation, and that's Wispr Flow. I went through for the MaxMarket Labs and tested like 5 of them, of these different ones, and honestly, there's a new one every week because Wispr is open source and everybody's making their own. So I'm going to use my affiliate link, so consider me biased, but this is the best one. I tested a bunch of these out for the MaxMarket Labs, and some of them are super complicated and, which you may want. Some of them are too simple. This one is Goldilocks. It allows you to have a custom dictionary. It has some custom controls. It maps very easily onto the globe key, and you just hold the button down and you start talking, or you double tap it, and it just lets you record into it. And it's fast. It has a mobile app on the iPhone and iPad that works really good too. The custom dictionary is super important because I put all the words that it wouldn't normally recognize. Like a lot of these, every time I say Max Sparky, they write MAX space BARKY.
Max Barkey.
Yeah. In fact, so much so that some of the labs members refer to me that now. And
that's funny.
But but this doesn't do that because I have my custom name in there, or people, or emails. It does snippets as well. And I've just had so many people take my recommendation on this app and write me to tell me how they're just using it constantly. And if you want to do more dictation and you're willing to throw a few bucks at it for something better, it's Wispr Flow. I think that's the one.
And it is, macOS has built-in dictation. So, but you would say, like, with the custom dictionary and the other features, that this is worth it above just the stock dictation on the Mac.
It is just so much better. And like when you talk, and what it does is a very light AI pass. It does your words. Like some of the more complicated ones, like rewrite, you'll say something and then it'll type something else. You don't want that, This won't take your words, but like if it sounds like you're doing a numbered list, it'll make it a numbered list, If you say new paragraph, it'll put a new paragraph in instead of write new paragraph out like Siri does, It just, so it does a very light AI pass at your dictation. And it gets spellings right. So when I say obscure words, I don't know what the dictionary is using, but does way better than the built-in Mac dictation. It's so much better that on the iPhone, because of security now, when you first enable it in an app, it swipes you over to Wispr Flow where you have to enable and swipe back. Kind of a pain in the neck, but it's worth the pain in the neck because the dictation is so much better. And maybe at WWDC, Apple will amaze us and improve built-in Siri dictation so much that we don't need this anymore. But that's hard for me to believe. And I just really feel like this Wispr Flow moment right now is real. And people who want to dictate more, like you, Stephen, frankly, if you're willing to throw a few bucks, give it a try. I think they've got a free trial, so you'll know.
All right. I will try it and actually try to do it on my Mac because I've been doing it more on my phone, but I've just never been in the habit of on my Mac dictating things. And especially for prompting Claude or whatever, it would be way faster just to speak that stuff than try to type it all out.
Yeah.
So I will check that out. I'll check that out.
I actually think my typing skills have degraded as I've been dictating more. Now when I do type, it's like it's terrible.
Yeah.
But Wispr Flow, one of the smart things is it maps itself to that globe key when you first start it up. So now you've got a dictation button on your Mac, and it's great. I know there's already one on the F5 key, but just give it a try.
Okay. All right, we'll do it. All right, I have a newer app that's pretty obscure and very specific purpose. But
Okay.
if embedding chapters into an MP3 for podcasting is important to you, this app really helped me out. As the whole video in Apple has been changing and how chapters are going, putting chapters in my different podcasts has been more and more cumbersome. And so the system I have now, which works really well, is Riverside will auto give you chapters when you record, but it gives way too many chapters. The title chapters are verbose, and it's not easy to change them at large. So what I do is I will download an SRT file, which is the transcript subtitle type file, which has time codes in it. And I've been giving that SRT file to Claude on my Mac. And rather than asking it for chapters automatically, I tell it the chapters I want. So I'll give it all the chapter titles that I want, and Claude will then just give me the timestamps with my chapter titles. And I've found that to be faster doing it that way rather than the reverse. Seeing what chapters it automates for me and then trying to edit those. I tell it the chapters I want and I ask it to give me the timestamps. So that's been working well. But then getting that quickly into an MP3 file, that was the challenge. Then, well, okay, I have these timestamps, but am I going to bring this into Ferrite on my iPad to edit it? And this is where a new app, Matt Birchler is the developer, and he created this app called Chapterize. And it is exactly the workflow that I wanted and was helping me facilitate this whole workflow. So what you can do is, it's a Mac app, you give it your MP3 or your WAV file, whatever your finished edited podcast is, and then you can literally copy and paste from your clipboard. So you copy your chapter timestamps. So I copy the ones that Claude gives me. I just paste them into this little block, and then Chapterize will create all those chapters in that audio file, gives me the option to drag chapter artwork and add links per chapter if I want to do that. And I can then export an MP3 or WAV file with those chapters embedded. I export the MP3, and that's what I use for the audio version of my other podcasts. Now, the reason why the process is complicated right now is because I'm trying to facilitate doing video and audio for one of my shows, and that whole process is very cumbersome right now. And so I needed this exact tool at this exact time to help me do exactly this. And it's really good at it. He's been updating it. It's a one-time purchase. It's like $20-something, so it's kind of quote-unquote expensive for an app, but it's not a subscription. It's a one-time purchase. And for my use case, it was well worth it for me. And so Chapterize is my pick. It's a pick.
It's a great app, and I just downloaded it.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Because you literally chapters for any kind of audio file.
Yes, yes.
And
It's a pain in the neck. I know that's kind of a creator thing, but
Forecast has been a long time app from Marco Arment, recent guest on Mac Power Users, and Forecast is still great, but the simple act of pasting timestamps with titles and having those just automatically generate into the file, that was the deal. That was the deal.
Okay, this one I just discovered a week ago, and I am loving it. Have you ever seen this screensaver? Yes, I'm going to talk about a screensaver. Bauhaus Clock.
I have not. I have not heard of it.
When I put this in the list, I'm like, Steven is going to love that I put another clock in.
Well, so what I do is when we have a bunch of links in Notion, I just select all, copy, and then I have a shortcut that opens all those URLs in a browser window. Yeah. And so I just see the tabs opening real quick, one right after another. And this one flashed by for a second. And I was like, what is that?
But is he done again?
What is this? Is another date? So yeah, tell me about Bauhaus
All right.
Clock.
I generally I just have my screen go dark. But this came across my radar and it's so attractive. I couldn't help it. And yes, it's another clock, Stephen. But when I walk into my studio now, I have a beautiful Bauhaus style clock on my screen. And I have played with all the various clocks. There's another one that people like called flip clock. That's like a split flap clock that people have. Yeah. See that on a lot of the YouTubers. They've always got it on their screen, on their glamour shots of their desk. This is so much better. This is so much better. And the person who made this, I don't know who he is. It's $19. It's such a nerd. Like when you configure this, you can say, because my kids gave me a watch for Father's Day last year, and it's a mechanical watch. It's not a quartz watch. And as a result, the ticks don't go 1 second at a time. It's a lot more ticks between a second. In this app, you can configure it as a mechanical watch or as a quartz watch or as a sweep watch. I mean, every little detail you can think of, and it looks beautiful. Dark background, light background. It has different modes if your computer's in light mode or dark mode or not. And I just think it's gorgeous. And so I've been running it for a week. Every time I come in the studio and I see the clock on, it just makes me smile. And maybe for me only, but this is a gem.
It is a beautiful clock. But here's my question to you. So you have the Pro Display XDR and a newer Studio Display, right? Are those your two monitors right now?
Yeah.
So
the older Studio Display.
The older Studio Display. Even with my older Studio Display, I'm always a little like, I don't want the screen just on all the time if I'm not working on it. I don't like, even when the technology doesn't risk burn-in, I'm always like, I just don't want it always on. So does that not bother you, like leaving the monitor on all the time?
After 30 minutes, it goes dark. Yeah.
Okay.
This is like when I'm around. When I go to bed, it goes dark. But
okay. Well, then maybe I'll do that, because this is beautiful and you can customize it with all the colors, and that is very nice. That is very nice. Okay. That's fun. Bauhaus Clock. Again, links to all these apps down below. So the next one is more of an entertainment one, but it has a great Mac app. It is Sequel. Sequel is one of the many movie and TV show tracking apps, and I've tried a lot of them, and there's a lot of great ones out there, but I really like Sequel. The Mac app is good. You can also have widgets because of the Mac app, so you could have like desktop widgets, you can have the Today View widgets, and I've now been using it, and I've used Sofa. Sofa's great. If you want to look up movie information, use the Callsheet app on your Mac. That's how you look up like cast and crew and other trivia. But Sequel is what I've been keeping track of movies I want to watch with my family, with my spouse, TV shows, and Sequel's great for that. And one of the reasons why I chose Sequel is because it syncs with Tract. Tract, Trakt, is a service kind of like Letterboxd or Letterboxd, where it syncs all your data, and then other apps can kind of plug into that, and you can basically get whatever app you want to use, and it looks nice with your data that you already have. But Sequel, the visual aesthetic has been really nice. You can have widgets for like the movies you want to watch soon or upcoming. So like I have movies in my upcoming view with the release date. So there's like The Death of Robin Hood in 22 days, and The Odyssey coming out July 17, new Spider-Man movie July 30th. So I can see all the movies that are about to come out in theaters. I got my watch list, and then you can also have collections. So I have collections of family movies. These are movies we may or may want to not watch with the kids. I don't know if The Happening is too scary for the kids or not, probably. But, I like being able to organize it, put it into family and spouse, see the upcoming movies in theaters. It also does books. I don't use it for that. I use it for TV series, and I use it for movies. It looks great, and it's great on the Mac. Sequel.
All right. Quick side note: Are you gonna go watch Odyssey?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I waited too long for tickets, and so now all the opening weekend and week might be sold out everywhere around me. But I'm going to probably set up a Claude scheduled task to check a couple movie theaters, and as soon as there's open tickets, I'll probably do it. But yes, I want to see it in the theaters. How about you?
Yeah, I am looking forward to that as well. I'm looking forward to it so much, I got the Emily Wilson translation, and I'm reading it again.
Oh my goodness. Okay, very good. And also, I think this episode has come out a while ago, but can I shout out the Focus episode where I got to be a guest with you, and that was really wonderful. We talked a lot about books on that episode. And maybe one day I can come back because I've got new book recommendations too.
Excellent. And I guess since we're going there, did you watch The Mandalorian?
No, I've not seen it in theaters. I've saw the TV series with my kids, but I've not made it out there. And with Dub happening, just couldn't go. I'll probably see it late. But did you? Did you go to theaters for it?
Shame on you. Shame on you.
Wait, you went to the theaters and saw it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I meant to ask you in an earlier episode, and I forgot.
It's great.
Is it good? Okay. Yeah,
great. A lot of fun. Just fun.
Well, maybe as we're recording out of time, but maybe I could squeeze it in before Dub.
Yeah.
Time-wise, this makes no sense. But anyway, we'll
follow up.
Sometimes
that happens on a podcast.
We'll follow up.
All right. Well, since we're talking about media, I want to talk about Permute. Have you ever seen this app?
Yes, and I'm well acquainted with Charlie Monroe and all his apps, but I don't use Permute a lot personally. So tell me about it.
Well, it takes a media file and it makes it a different media file. And like I used to do this all the time, like in QuickTime or like, Handbrake is another one that people used to use for a lot of this stuff. But I just wanted a simple app that I could put audio or media into or video in it and have it spit out as something else. And Permute like scratches that itch so nicely that I would highly recommend it. And if you're a set app subscriber, you already get it. It's excellent.
I love everything that he makes, and I would probably use this a lot more. The only thing is I use Compressor all the time
Yeah, okay.
because I'm in Compressor every day exporting videos, and Compressor I have like custom presets basically where, if I want to make it an audio or video, like one of the things I do when I export a YouTube video from Final Cut, I send it to Compressor and then I have a little group, and when I drag that group over the video, it will automatically add the MP3 version that I'm going to take and transcribe and do a bunch of stuff with before the video renders out. And then it does the video. And I'm just so used to Compressor. If I need to quickly convert something to MP3 or just shrink something, I use Compressor for all of that. But if not for Compressor, I would 100% use Permute. And I use his other app. I don't know how much we can say about it, but Downy is also his other great app. And I use that pretty much every day.
Yeah. The if you know, you know, right?
If you know, you know. That's exactly right. That's hilarious.
But I think for normal folk, I think that Permute is like the right tool. If you ever want to take a media file and switch it to something else, it just makes it super easy. Compressor is great if you're a production guy like Steven is, but Permute is just a fantastic little app, and it's one that I think qualifies in our gym category.
For sure. Even just the ability to crop a video quickly, specific, like it's great for all of that. So definitely check that out. Now, I'm going to shout out a friend and co-host of mine's app because this is a vibe coded app, David. Okay. But this might be interesting to you as well. So this is Contextly. And Contextly is Jason Aiton's app. It's in the App Store. It's also on iPhone if you want to get that. But Jason built this app because he wanted a notes app that used Markdown, but also brought in calendar events and connected tasks all in one place. And the biggest thing he uses it for is you can have your calendar on the right side. You have your month view and then your agenda below it. And you can create a new note that links to that event by just right-clicking and creating a new note. And so now I have a new note and it's connected to that event. In the same way, if I'm looking at a note, I can then, connect that to an event easily. And the way he works is, there's a meeting on the calendar, there's probably a note associated, and he does all that there. And you can also take a note that you might have been typing for a while. Maybe you have a transcription in there. You can then create to-dos using Apple Intelligence and send those to-dos to reminders, to things, to various task apps. So it's kind of like a middle, like interlocutor for like events, notes, and tasks. And he also vibe coded Apple Intelligence in there. So in your note, you can get summaries. You can do audio recordings and transcriptions in the app if you want to do that. You can send those to-dos to reminders, to-doist, things like that. But it's pretty fun, and it's the way his brain works, and so he just wanted to make an app. And something we've talked about on this show recently is this is the vibe coded app age, is allowing people to make the app that they want just like their brain works. And that's why there's so many great task and note apps out there, is because everybody works a little differently. And so he made this for him, and some other people like it, and their brain works that way too. And so that's Contextly.
The more I talk to you and hear about kind of your preferences along notes, and I know you're kind of allergic to Obsidian, I feel like you have an inevitable date with NotePlan.
Yeah. It is installed on my Mac. I have it right here. I imported my entire bare note history into NotePlan.
Yeah.
And I like it. and the design is really good and it would jive, but there's just that hurdle of like, am I jumping ship? Am I upending my entire workflow to do this? And like it's so hard to make that. Isn't that hard for you? Is it hard for you to like upend your whole workflow?
It's too easy, frankly.
Okay. All right.
But but like if you're doing kind of the robot stuff, you need a local bank of text files. And NotePlan gives you a native app and all that stuff, and kind of like the integration that Contextly does, but with a really well developed and mature application. I just feel like if you ever like spend some time, I think you would fall into it pretty quickly.
I do. Of all the apps that try to do all these things together, I do love the design a lot, and it jives. And I do like the idea. I was just telling Jason the other day, the day I ever move away from bare notes, it is to do Markdown files in folders. Like I don't want to leave bare just to do another proprietary database structure.
Yeah.
I would want it to have that flexibility, but it is if I were to jump, where do I jump? And NotePlan has been the closest to doing that.
Yeah, I honestly, that one is on the table for me too. Because I'm teaching this course and I'm using Obsidian, I didn't want to use an app that people had to pay for to learn to build the robot stuff. So I chose Obsidian, but there could be a day in the not distant future where I switch over to NotePlan. But Obsidian and NotePlan both kind of do that job equally. But as a native app that works good on mobile and takes advantage of all the Apple features, boy, NotePlan is really a great app. We did a whole show on it like a couple of years ago, and maybe at some point we'll come back to that.
We got a bunch of episodes brewing of you or us doing deep dives into NotePlan, into Keyboard Maestro, into Carbon Copy Cloner, and like all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we got work to do in the future.
Okay, I've got a productivity related app that I think isn't on most people's radar, but it should be. It's called Bike Outliner. And they are now in version 2.0.
I've never heard of Bike at all. This is definitely a gem, a diamond in the rough.
Well, Hogbay Software, Jesse Grosjean, he made task paper. You're familiar with the task paper format in Lightroom. Jesse makes great little utility, simple applications. And if you're looking for a simple outliner, I don't think you can beat Bike. And it's just really well done. So it's a clean Mac native application. It works very simply. It gives you plain text. It's like task paper, but for outlining. And I guess that's really the sell there, if you know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. That is one I have never heard of. So that's Bike. And also mentioned, this was not on my list, but Marked 3 from Brett Terpstra is actually out now.
Yeah.
He was on the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Marked 3. So a couple weeks ago, I think it is now, we talked about like where we save links. And I'm still working on my process of where do I save stuff? Where do I want to put stuff to refer to later? But this app has been my solution for the last couple months, and I do really enjoy it. And it's called Capture. It's simple. There's a longer name in the App Store. We'll put the exact link down in the show notes. But Capture has been, I just run it from the share sheet, and I save all the things there. And the reason why I like it so much is when you hit the share button, you can do like send it to a specific collection or a list, as it's called in the Capture app, right there from the share sheet. And I never have to open the Capture app to organize it. It's just in the right list. Now, we actually talked about another app called Readwise, and we're going to get to that in a little bit because I've downloaded and tried it, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But Capture has still been is what I'm using right now, and I'm kind of experimenting. But I have lists for the different podcasts I do, for videos, and I just like putting in all the lists. The one thing I'm not crazy about it is when you go into the app and you click something that you saved. It could be an article, it could be a video, it could be a social media post. All you get is like the headline and the header image of that thing you saved. There's no way to read or even see like the lead paragraph or whatever, or the summary that would be in an RSS feed in the Capture app. So you have to click and open it in the original source, which maybe that's how people want it and intend to use an app like this. I want something a little more than that, and that's why I like some of the features in Readwise, which we'll talk about. But I'm still using Capture because it's just lightning fast. It's easy to run from the share sheet. The Mac app is great and everything syncs and it's easy, simple, and fast. And there's a one-time lifetime purchase. I think it's like 20 something dollars, but I always appreciate when an app gives you that one-time purchase forever kind of deal. It's Capture.
Yeah. I've got one here that we talked about in our menu bar episode, but I want to include it here as well because I just love it so much. I want people to use Drop Zone, and it's an obscure gem to my mind. So the way Drop Zone works, it goes in your menu bar, and it's a shelf app. There's a bunch of them out there where you can take a file and you put it on a quote unquote shelf. Sometimes it's on the side, sometimes it's in your dock. Drop Zone is in your menu bar, and it pops down anytime you select a file. So the first thing it does is it's a shelf, so you can drag it up there. They've got an icon called the drop bar. You put it there, and especially if you're working on a laptop and you've got limited screen space, and maybe you've got Keynote in one space and files in another, something you want to move stuff around, you put it on the drop zone shelf. You go to the other app, you drop it in. Really handy. But the things that makes it truly great in my mind is the stuff it does beyond that. The first thing it does is it allows you to lock an item on the shelf. And so there's a couple things that I use repeatedly, like the show art for the Lab Report podcast that I do in the labs. So every week I record the Lab Report podcast, and I have to put the artwork in 3 different places in my publishing unit. So I just locked that artwork into that zone. I can reach up, drop it in anywhere I want. Mac Power Users artwork, I do the same thing. My headshot is in there. Just stuff that I frequently access, I put in there. You can even put video clips in there. So if you've got a little video exit for your video, you can just save it there and drop it in your video editor at random. So it's just really handy. If you... another thing I use it for is my, tax forms. If somebody says, oh, we need to pay you, but we need your 1099 or whatever, I've got them up there. I can just drop it into an email. Just super handy for stuff like that. The next kind of level this thing does is it allows you to save folders or locations to it. And the location can be set in the way that you determine. You can make some where anything I drop on this folder, move it here. I have a sort folder for the Mac Sparky stuff that the robot sorts and puts stuff away for me. I have that in the drop zone. So any file that comes in, whether it's an email attachment on my desktop, whatever, I just drag it onto drop zone, put it in the sort folder, and then the robot figures it out from there. So that's really nice. But you can also have it copy it to that location. So let's say you need something on the desktop just for a few hours, and you want the ability to just put it on the desktop and work off of it, like another type of shelf, really. You use the copy function there. So it does that. And then it's got additional actions I can do. It's got an AirDrop button, so you can just move a file into AirDrop that way. Or you can create custom actions in there. It's a shelf app done right. And I tried a lot of them, but this is the one that keeps sticking for me. And if you haven't used this gem, you're going to probably find a use for it if you try it out. You can get it on the Mac App Store. You can also get this one from SetApp as well.
That's pretty cool. And I need to try that. And I'm just going to throw 2 in here real quick, similar but different. If you wanted something like that, but only for AirDrop, developer that we talk about at least once a month, Sanjay Soderhouse, of his many apps, Menu Drop is one of his free ones. Just puts a little icon in your menu bar, and it's strictly to AirDrop. But if you just want to be able to quickly drag an image, a file, a text, whatever, drag it up in the menu bar just to AirDrop it, Menu Drop is great for that, and it's in the Mac App Store, and it's free. And I also I was curious if you'd seen, I'm seeing more Bartender Pro stuff out there, in the ether, as people are sharing on social media. And I guess Bartender Pro was recently updated or something, and I keep seeing people talking about it, and I'm like, I've tried Bartender a long time ago, and we even talked about the menu bar management apps in our menu bar episode. But Bartender Pro is looking pretty good. I'm curious now about it.
Yeah, there are a lot of nice new features on it, and if you're using a laptop, it even has features for, the notch.
Right.
And it looks good. I need to spend time with it, and I just haven't yet. But it's on my list. Yeah.
It's on the list. We'll put a link below. And oh yeah, go ahead. You do the next one.
I just did one.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I was throwing side ones in here. This one's brand new. This is a
All right.
brand new app, and as I've been experimenting with RSS readers here and there, there's a new one called Amethyst. Amethyst is free, and if you just want a simple RSS reader but organize your stuff into folders and have it on all your Apple devices, Amethyst. And I've been trying it out. I brought all my RSS feeds in there, OPML export, reader into Amethyst. You can get it on the Mac App Store. It's also available on all the other things, even Apple Vision Pro, if you want to do that. But it's been pretty good. It's very simple, bare bones. But if you just want to try another new RSS reader, everybody's slight preferences of, how they want to read it or how they want the RSS reader to look. But it's pretty good, and it's brand new. Amethyst.
I can tell you're going through something with RSS right now, Stephen.
Well, listen, I've been someone who really loves single purpose great apps for things. Like you have a great RSS reader, you have a great note app, you have a great task app, maybe two, and that has worked for me for a long time.
Best in breed over jack of all trades.
Yes, yeah. But I feel the conglomeration of things that if they were in the same place or if you did this differently, you're like this task would be faster or this would be more streamlined. And I'm like we mentioned on a recent episode, I'm always trying to weigh the balance of increased complexity versus change cost of an app versus what is the benefit. But yeah, I'm in an experimental phase right now.
There you go.
It's
I
in
can't
my
wait to see where this ends up.
Well, what is it, like you call a jazz musician, their experimental phase or whatever? It's
there you go.
It's that.
Another gem that I would like to share that I think a lot of people don't know about is Text Sniper. And this is an app that does just one thing. If you've got a picture on the screen and it's got words on it and you want to get the words out of it, you just take a shot of it and it gives you the words. Now, Apple added a feature like this last year to the operating system. Text Sniper is better. I've been trying them. I'm just telling you, it's better. It's easier to use. Like once you get it going, and you may or may not be somebody that needs that. But I often bump into that where I just want to grab some text from a website or something, and I can't. It's not selectable or it's in a picture, and I just find myself using this app more often than you'd think I would. And there's really not much more to say about it, but you snap a picture, you get the words.
Honestly, and that's a task where on the Mac, I'm sometimes unsure like how to do that quickly. And I'll be like, I guess I take a screenshot, open that in preview, and then I can select it.
Yeah.
And, sometimes preview, it's like on the wrong tool and it's not letting you like select text right away, or you have to have your mouse cursor just right around the words in order to select it. So I think I'm going to get Text Sniper today because honestly, I think it's going to make it way easier. It's just,
It's just a tool to have in your tool belt. We all spend money on things, right? But one of the things I did is I signed up for SetApp, which is kind of that app, like Netflix for apps kind of thing. And it's I put links in the show notes for this one because a bunch of these are in SetApp, and that really makes it easy for you to explore new apps because a lot of really great developers are contributing. They get a cut of my monthly payment. They're happy, and it allows me to experiment with a lot of apps. Text Sniper's in there, by the way. So is Drop Zone. I think Bike is in there too. Permute's in there. So a lot of the apps I talk about are in there. And it's just a great place to go and experiment on apps. You should try it sometime. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I should do that. All right, this one's kind of exciting because I met this developer here in Tampa locally because he listens to the various podcasts and such. And this was also a vibe-coded app, but it's really good. So this is called Inset. It's a $4 app, just a one-time purchase, no subscription or anything. And what it does, it's also for the iPhone and iPad, but the Mac, I think, is where it's really useful. Basically, if there's something that you want to always have on top of all your windows, so maybe that is, videos you can do picture in picture, but something like a Zoom call or a Google Meet, sometimes those picture-in-picture tools and browser extensions don't really force those videos into picture-in-picture. Or you have it in a standalone app like WebEx or the Zoom app, and then picture-in-picture is not something that you really can get. Or maybe you're trying to watch the progress of a video render and you want to see when it's done, but you don't want to have to like position the windows precisely right so you can see the progress bar off in the corner. Well, what Inset does is it lets you basically just choose a portion of the screen that you want to be seeing all the time, and then it creates a little window that stays persistent on top of everything else no matter what. And so you can monitor that app, whether it's a Zoom call, a progress bar, installation window, whatever, and then you can put that like it's a picture-in-picture window wherever you want on your Mac, and you're good to go. And the reason why he made an iPhone version of that app is if you wanted to connect it and see that progress bar that's captured on your Mac on your iPhone, you can do that with the companion app. So if you want to, like if you're exporting a video, maybe it's a very long video, that export time is going to be a couple hours, well, you can pop into the Inset iPhone app and take a look at what that progress bar is doing on your Mac, rather than trying to do a whole VNC into it and do all of that. If you're on the same network, you can just look at the Inset app on your iPhone. I thought this was a great idea, really useful, again, for progress, for type video type calls or whatever. $4, Inset, Mac, and iPhone.
I just bought it.
Hey, look at that. Pretty cool idea, right?
No, it is, because like Zoom meetings is a great example. Like you forget that you're on camera because you like move to a different screen because they're asking about something or whatever. And like, I think this will be really good for that. Although I'm going to make a note not to use it when I'm broadcasting, like when I'm running a meeting, because when you go to share a screen, I would assume that would mean that this window shows up on your screen because the Zoom hides that, when you share your screen. But for the ones I attend, I think this is perfect.
Yeah,
and I just feel like I can find a lot of uses for this.
Yeah,
this is a great app. Yeah, thanks.
That's pretty fun. Yeah.
Okay, next one is TechSoap. TechSoap is an oldie, but one that doesn't get discussed very often. But if you work with text and you ever want to do anything with it, TechSoap, it really kind of pairs nicely with Text Sniper. Like sometimes you'll go on the web and you'll copy text and it injects a bunch of formatting or does a bunch of carriage returns or doesn't put carriage returns, anything like that. TechSoap is an app that just fixes that. You put the text in there, it's got a bunch of built-in filters. Usually the built-in ones are good enough. But if you've got any kind of text that needs formatting, TechSoap works. And I know people are going to say, well, hey, Sparky, I can do that with ChatGPT or Claude. But you're burning tokens when you do that there. And this is a very simple problem to solve locally.
Yeah.
I still use TechSoap.
Yeah. TechSoap. I'll have to check that out. I've not tried that either. And that's also in Set app if you want to get it there.
Oh, yeah.
Set up. This is also another newer app. This is for social media. If you're on Mastodon and or Blue Sky, there's great apps, for both of those. Ivory is a great Mastodon client, and there's a great app for Blue Sky. I forget what it's called. It had a little hot air balloon, but this one is Indigo, and it's for both Blue Sky and Mastodon. I've been using this on my Mac, on my iPhone, and if you're balancing all the text-based social media networks like I am, any tool that helps simplify that process is welcome, and Indigo is exactly that. One, if you are on both Blue Sky and Mastodon and you follow the people on both, as you probably know, people cross-post things. I cross-post things where I'll post the same thing on Threads, Mastodon, Blue Sky, and what this will do is it will identify cross-posts and actually label it as such in the timeline, and you can actually tap the little cross-post thing and you could say, show me the Blue Sky version or show me the Mastodon version, which that's cool. If you want to post, you can post to both Blue Sky and Mastodon at the same time. It also has timeline sync, so you can scroll on your Mac and then you can open Indigo on your iPhone and it's going to sync to that place in the timeline. And it's just a really great app overall, really smooth, and trying to, do the one less app that I have to look at and manage really goes a long way. And, one day maybe I won't need social media. Maybe I don't need it now. I don't know. But for right now, I'm posting all the things everywhere, and Indigo is the way to do it. It's free to try. If you want to do things like cross posting, there is a subscription pricing, $5 a month, $35 a year, but you can also just use it for free if you want to be scrolling and just kind of combine those two feeds into one. But I went ahead and signed up for a year because it's making my life easier. Indigo.
I can never decide if I should like go and sign up for some of those services. You know, everybody says, "Oh, you do social media, you got to do it. You do this content stuff." I just can't get myself to do it, Steven.
I feel like if you haven't done it, don't start now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you have a business and you've set up your work in such a way where you are not dependent on it.
Yeah.
And that would, I think, be the better place. And I'm not ready to experiment with that yet. Maybe I'm at a place where I don't need it. But I also like Amazon affiliate revenue is still a thing that is a part of my income. And it's not insignificant. A consistent portion of that is on the smart home page on my website. But sometimes I want to share a product. I want to share an affiliate link. I'm like, I don't want to make a whole video about this. I don't want to put this in a podcast. And so I post on social media. And sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, and you pointed out to me offline. I forgot that, like, I think my posts are going to Mastodon.
Well, they are.
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Yeah, and I'm like, and you said, "Well, how'd you hook that up?" And I'm like, I don't even remember, honestly.
It's
I did
working.
it like years ago. Yeah.
It's still working. However you got it done, it's still working.
Yeah. So I guess I am doing it, but I just
not actually scrolling on it. But I do enjoy scrolling and seeing posts from other people. But I'll also post some affiliate links and just say like, hey, here's AirPods tips. These are the ones I like and recommend, and so here's an affiliate link. And it's an easy, low risk, low whatever way of sharing things. So we'll see. Sometimes I've thought about like curating a private social media feed. Like we both have communities and we both have them in Circle. And I've thought about like, I wonder if I should just create a space in my Circle account that's like a social media feed and I just post there. And I tell people if they want to see posts from me, go to my Circle community. Look at that. I don't know. Do you do that kind of, well, you post so much content. It's kind of like, you kind of do that anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I do is the now page, which I don't update as much as I should, really. But if you go to maxsparky.com/now, then I kind of say what I'm doing now. And that's like my version of social media. It's like, oh, this is the stuff he's making in the shop. This is the project he's working on, Max Sparky. And I feel like that is as close as I'm going to get to that stuff. And it's not like I'm holier than thou or righteous about it. I know some people get really wound up about social media, but it's just a question of time and attention, and I just don't have enough for that.
I mean, I probably don't either. I just spend it anyways, and so that's probably not great. But
I still find myself going on Instagram and completely as a lurker. Really, I hardly ever post anything, but like it has found the right combination of woodworkers and people who tie knots and. And like it knows me well enough to give me stuff if I really want to just like zone out. I can go there and see something. But
are you more of a bow line or a taunt line hitch?
I mean, I'll do them all.
Yeah, do them all. I was a scout of a kind when I was a kid, and we did all the knot testing.
Yeah.
So I know my square knots and my parallel lashing, and all that.
Nothing makes me happier than when there's a problem that I can solve with a piece of rope. I'll just tell you that.
Those are good problems to have. You know what I mean? Like they're problems,
exactly.
But that's a nice problem. That's a nice problem. All
Like a very well executed knot makes me happy.
Listen, absolutely. And like, I mean, I used to go on camping trips and like lash stuff together.
Yeah.
Like we would lash together like, I think we called them like Chippewa kitchens or whatever, but it would basically be like a teepee over the fire and then like a little shelf basically. And we would continuous lash the shelf on the side, and then we would have a bunch of cross lashes on the thing. And like, I loved having a super clean lash, especially a nice parallel lashing. Whew, can't beat it.
All right, another one I have. Maybe this is just for us nerds that make stuff for the internet. But if you've ever taken a screenshot of your phone or your watch or anything, and you wanted to put a nice frame around it that looks like the device, ShareShot's a great app for that. And they got a Mac app. They got a mobile app. It's awesome. And the one way I really like it is when I send screenshots to people, even just friends, and from the phone, you hit the share sheet and then you ShareShot's share sheet plugin, and then it sends it with it. And they always write back, "How did you do that?" It's like, I think they think I took a picture of the phone and cropped it or something. Yeah.
No. I love ShareShot. I use this almost daily. You can put it in the control center, and the control center action will just immediately frame your last screenshot, which is cool. And it has great shortcuts actions. And whenever I need to bulk frame screenshots, I have a shortcut where I can select files or photos, and it can just run through as many as I choose, and it frames all the screenshots, puts the nice gradient background behind it. It's wonderful. ShareShot, highly recommend.
Yeah,
sure.
and even like gets your device. Like if you have an orange iPhone, it makes it orange. It's nice.
Exactly. And it does it for Mac too. So if you have Mac screenshots, it'll put it in like a iMac or a MacBook Air, MacBook Pro frame. And you can choose your device too.
Yeah.
All right, I have one more because I did some homework for this episode. But before I do want to shout out Parachute because it's keeping me backed up, and it's a Mac app that I didn't use it. It's right there. It's running. It's running weekly, and saving my iCloud photos and my iCloud drive. So Parachute backup is good.
We can all sleep easy. You're good.
That's right. And then from a previous episode homework for saving things and reading, we talked about Readwise. Now, Readwise is a service, and there's the Readwise app, which is like for book highlighting or article highlighting, things like that. And then there's the companion secondary app called Readwise Reader. And this is an app you can get on your iPhone, you can get on your Mac, and it allows you to either read RSS feeds. So it's actually an RSS reader also, but then also lets you read things and highlight them and send them to Readwise Reader and things like that. So in addition to Amethyst, I took my OPML file of all my RSS feeds and I threw it in a Readwise Reader to see what that's like. I like their app icon, first of all. We should do like an app icon rating, like our favorite Mac app and iPhone app icon someday. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great bonus episode. Yeah.
Yes, that's a good bonus episode. So I like their icon. The app is nicely designed, especially on iPhone. I was using it on the Mac, and it did all the things that I wanted and needed it to do. I can do it from the share sheet. There are shortcuts actions. There's even an API you can plug into if you want to build more advanced shortcuts. It has all the features I need, plus the Readwise portion. I was like, this could be my book thing. Rather than taking pictures of my physical books, I could do it all here. It still might be. It still might be. But I have to say, sometimes, you could tell me if you've ever experienced this, something about the UI was just a friction point for me. It wasn't bad, it wasn't slow, it wasn't buggy, it wasn't any of those things. But just the overall, like, here's the middle column with your list of articles from RSS feeds, here's it expanding. I don't know if it was a spacing thing, if it was just a layout thing. It got me a little off at first. But if I use it and it literally does all the things I need it to do well and streamlined and it's functional and I'm sure it's solid, I might stick with it. But I was a little just unsure about the UI of it. But it's really nice and really good, especially on iPhone. And so I'm going to keep trying it. So I will report back if I continue with it.
I would recommend on the Mac, just use it in the web. They have the web view, and they use a set of keyboard shortcuts that are very similar to the old kind of standard Gmail stuff. Like to archive, you just press E. To tag it, you press T. And I can fly on this thing on the web version of Readwise in Reader. So I go through it and I can tag it as a potential labs video or as a research item or whatever, and then hit E and it archives it and jumps to the next one. And the other piece of this for me, as we talked about in that prior show, is like, I almost think of this app partly as for me, but it's also an app that exists for the robot in the sense that the MCP does so much work for me on the back end. Like when I see an article and I say, oh, I want to put that in the Lab Report podcast this week. I want to talk about that. I hit T and then LR, and then it gets to the tag, and then I hit E and it disappears. And that's it, And on the back end, the robot every day sweeps the Readwise MCP and says, oh, he tagged this article for Lab Report. Well, I know he records that on Wednesday night, so I'm going to make the note for next week if it's not already made. I'm going to get the link. I'm going to put it in there. I'll put a summary of what it says. I'll give him all the links to the source article so he can read it before he records. Yeah, it does all that stuff for me. So there are apps now that I treat almost as like companions for my robot more than for me. And it's that piece of Readwise that makes it so useful to me. Because I honestly think unread is prettier for RSS. If it was just for the human, I would probably use unread. But because this thing has got so much power under the hood and works so easily with a robot, that's why I use it. And I can navigate it very fast because I really look at that sweep through the Readwise reader as a triage. A lot of the stuff I just hit the E and move on to the next one.
So this is, you can see it, you could download it and use it on the web. This is what it looks like on the web. And I think what threw me off at first is I like the left side where it has all the feeds organized by folder, and it imported all of that from Reader Classic from my OPML file.
Yeah.
It has the full list of articles, and I like how when I hover my mouse over an article, on the far right, which is like a third pane, it has the title, a summary, and some metadata about that link or article. And I think the thing that threw me is my expectation when I click an article in this middle view is for it to open up in the third pane like it does in Reader and other RSS type feed apps, and keep the list of articles static and just load the full article in that far right column. And so that is just a behavioral difference I think I would need to get used to, but it's not a design thing because I do think this looks fine. And, it has a lot of powerful options for like taking actions on a particular story or link, and it's very fast. And I do like fast. And then you also have, in addition to your feeds, which you can organize by folders, you can organize by type. So if you do send videos into Reader or social media posts or PDFs, you can organize those in those different boxes. And so I'm going to spend more time and actually, see what this feels like and see what it's about. But yeah, I'll report back.
Yeah. And like it also, just to go down the rabbit hole, because it connects to the Readwise service, if I highlight something there, then it goes into the spaced repetition system in Readwise, which I don't really do with RSS stuff, But I also have all my ebooks in there because you can upload your EPUB files and they're there. And also the long form news items I get and emails are all in there. So I read them all there. And some of that stuff is stuff that's highlight worthy. So it gives me one app to kind of do all that stuff as opposed to, the jack of all trades versus best in class. I'm not sure this is the best in class as an RSS app, as an EPUB reader, as all this other stuff. But it is, for me, very handy to have a jack of all trades in this case because it keeps everything in one place. If I'm on a plane, I can open it up and read a book or I can read an article. And because of the MCP connection with the robot, suddenly it gives me whole new levels of behind the scenes automation that I can do with it without me having to do anything, which is a big advantage.
Well, and people have asked me to build lots of shortcuts for them using Readwise because they want to save certain things and use the API. So I want to do more experimenting with it.
Yeah.
But before we get to more power users and talk about some Notion feelings, I'm curious. I didn't have an app for this because I don't really do it. But I'm curious, do you time track yourself?
Yes. And
you do?
Occasionally.
Okay.
I think time tracking is an excellent tool for you to figure things out. Like as humans, we have this assumption that how long things take to do. And we're always wrong. I mean, we really don't understand it. Like I remember I used to, because, OmniFocus is my favorite task manager. It's in limbo a little bit right now as I'm doing robot experimentation, but people say, well, how much time do you spend doing that? And it sounded like I was like spending my whole day organizing my deck chairs on the Titanic. And so, but when I do time tracking, I discover I spend like 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, it's not that much time. And whereas other things like, let's say that you like Instagram woodworkers, you might find that you're spending an hour a day on that, and you didn't realize it, So, time tracking gives you insight that you wouldn't get otherwise. My favorite app, there's a bunch of them for it. Timery is a very popular one. There's services. My favorite one is from the guy who makes Cotypist. It's called Timing. And the reason I like it is because it's a Mac app. So, but that's where I do my work, and it looks at your actual time. And back when I was a lawyer, it was super helpful because like I'd be working on a contract or something, I get to the end of the day and I had to bill for it. I'm like, well, how much time did I spend in that thing? And it'll tell you how much time you spent in a Microsoft Word document during the day. It's just super great and made by a conscientious developer, so it's always getting updates and it's got features so you can add time when you're offline and do all that. I just think Daniel, I started the show talking about him and his Cotypist app. Well, I think timing is equally a gem, but it's not unheard of. A lot of listeners are aware of timing. But I do think it's the one. And the way I do it is once a quarter, I run it for a week.
Okay.
And it's like an audit system. Like every quarter, I kind of try and regenerate what I'm doing and figure out what's important and stuff. And towards the end of each quarter, I run it for a week or two, and that gives me data. And if I get surprises in there, I may run it for a bit longer. But I actually have a very good idea of how my time is spent because of that. And I think most people don't.
So this basically will track the time you spend in different apps, and then you can categorize them afterwards as what it was.
Yeah, and it's got some smarts where it'll start figuring it out, what types of your life. It'll look at your calendar, and it'll match that up to your calendar if you give it access. It's just like he's got a lot of cool features in it. And it doesn't just look at what app you're in, it looks at what page you're in.
Okay, I might try this because that's the one thing I've tried Timery and Toggle in the past because I used to hear CGP Grey and Mike talk about time tracking for a long time.
Yeah.
And I could never get in the habit of it. But I think if it's just going to proactively track the things and then I can categorize it later, I think I might do that.
And so the advantage of Gray and Mike's method is that you manually throw the switch when you change modes. And in a lot of ways that, there's transition costs of changing between work. And if you switch a timer, maybe that's in your brain, the little switch that throws that says, okay, now I'm done doing this, I'm going to do that. And that helps you. But if you don't do that reliably, then you just get garbage data and you end up spending your time trying to figure out what you actually did. To solve the problem of finding out how you're actually spending your time, you need a passive monitor. And I think that's what timing is. And it's better for that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's good. And also because I don't work on single tasks in blocks like that. I mean, when I'm editing a video, I'll be locked in for an hour or two and just be editing in Final Cut. But most of the time I'm jumping around because I'm starting this task here. I'll wait and go to something else. So, yeah, that's curious.
But I think that's the one. In fact, let me know how it goes for you. I'd be curious to hear what you discover because you will discover things about yourself if you run that for a week or two.
I know that kind of data can be scary, but I want to know. I want to know.
Good. Yeah,
it's good data so you can make better decisions.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of decisions, I want to decide how we feel about Notion. Not fine, just to see. I want to talk about it. So we're gonna go to more power users. We're gonna talk about our feelings about Notion, maybe reminders, things like that. So you can join and support the show by clicking the member link down in the show notes. Become a member. You get more power users, ad-free, and our monthly bonus episodes, which we recorded a monthly bonus episode. I think there's 2 to 3 out right now. If not, they'll be out soon. And we want to thank our sponsors, Workbrew, Ecamm, and 1Password. And thanks to everyone. We'll catch you next time.